Well, good morning, guys. Another cold morning out here. My intention today was to be working on the grown-up Quorn tool and cutter grinder, but the best laid plans of mice and men. So what I discovered was I did not have a boring bar that was long enough to reach down there all the way through those grown-up castings. And I didn't really feel like building tooling today, so what I'm working on is the machining on the countershaft brackets for the Delta wood lathe. So I've already got one of the castings set up. They're upside down. I just lined them up basically as best I could by eye and taking different reference points off of them, so I've got it vertical. I've decked off the feet, and I'm going to go ahead and lay out and cut the slots to mount it down there, and then we'll go ahead and center up on this lower boss and drill and tap it for 7/16 14. Now, I don't know if I finished editing all the videos that show the castings and the finishing of the pattern on the mesh plate and then doing the castings, but this is what they look like. You're going to get a jump ahead if you haven't seen these yet, or if you haven't seen the other videos yet. But we'll get them out and done if we don't have them out there already. So that's the machining. I did want to kind of talk about Quorn stuff while it was fresh on my mind. And as always, my opinions are kind of my thoughts as we go along, and as I see different ideas pop up on building Quorns and doing different machining operations and using different processes or different ideas to improve upon the Quorn. Now, one of the things that's come up concerning the Quorn is putting split cotters into all of the castings where they were originally split. And I was asked early on if I was going to use split cotters on my grown-up Quorn, and my response was probably not. And I still feel that way. I may incorporate them in some what I consider non-critical positions, but the reality is I think that they have the possibility to detract from the accuracy of the machine itself. We all would like to believe that our machining operations are perfect and we're exactly to spec and all that good stuff, and many times they're not. And my feeling is on the larger castings, and we could take, let's see, what do we have for a casting here that will be a good example? Well, we're going to use this and maybe pretend that it is it doesn't matter what part it is. If we put a split cotter in here, what we've done, if our bore is not bored exactly 2 dimensions, if we're slightly oversized, why, we have the split cotter clamping it down and potentially creating a pivot point that could allow some play this way. Where if we've got it split all the way across here, as we clamp it down here, it's going to squish evenly. So if we've got an oversized bore, potentially I feel that could be somewhat more accurate because we've pinched it evenly all the way around. We're maintaining pressure the full length of it rather than just creating pressure right in the center of that. So if we were to take this casting as an example, we've probably got about 4 times the area running across if that whole area is split and squeezing down, as opposed to just having a 7/16, half, even a 3/4 inch, which this isn't set big enough for a 3/4 inch, but we've got 4 times the area to potentially help align that shaft going through there. So that's my feelings as to why it's not such a good idea on some of these castings anyway to use a split cotter as opposed to a split casting. So just my 2 cents worth. So anyway, all I'm doing is machining out parts here today. I don't know. I don't know that I've got anything important to say or really earth-shattering for you. That's just kind of my thoughts for the moment. And what we're going to do is, and there's no rocket science here. Yeah. just about right for a center line. Those are both pretty even. And there again, we're doing a little bit of eyeball engineering here. I think we need a slot that long. And yes, this is an old set of calipers. We'll mark that when we get that far. Actually, we may just do a plunge cut here. I'll bring you back when we got something to show you here. Alright guys, I didn't bother to take the time to actually video the machining of these, and I didn't realize that until I got in and got to editing it, so I thought I'd at least give you an overview. This was real simple machining operations. There wasn't anything, you know, spectacular about them at all. I cut these slots 3/8 wide, so they'll accept a 3/8 bolt. And all I did was, when I had it set up in the milling vise like this, and I just repeated this twice, I went ahead and just slotted down until I got my slots all the way through. So that was the way I took care of that. In that same setup, I took it was probably a 1/4 inch there, again, not important, centered up on this bottom boss and drilled down through it, and then I followed it on down with a long drill bit just to make sure I was centered up there in the bottom, and I went ahead and drilled right on through a pilot hole on that. So there again, still in this configuration, I went ahead and countersunk this one, or just deburred this one, and then went ahead and put my threads, 7/16, 14 thread. Once that was done, I just flipped it up into this orientation after I took it out of the vise, clamped it down onto the table just with a couple of strap clamps, didn't worry about orientation or anything, just went back and indexed over the top of my pilot hole on the top, made sure that it was centered up, counterbored it, and went ahead, drilled it and tapped it for the 7/16, 14. I also ran the Superfly off across the top just to deck down the top before I did those operations, and that's what got us to this configuration here. So, okay, well, here's what we come up with for the morning's labors. We have both of these pretty well taken care of, drilled and tapped, top and bottom. Bottom's cut, got our slots cut, and we'll hit them with a flap disc here and then wash them down real good, and then I think we'll probably powder coat them. They're both about the same. They came out fine by the time I do a little bit of shaping on them. If I was doing it again, I probably would have shortened my mounting slots up just a little bit right in here. They're all crowding the end of the casting just a little bit. But, you know, for one-off patterns that I probably will not ever use that pattern again, it was more an exercise in pattern making than anything else. So we now have our countershaft brackets. Comments, suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below. And as always, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch.